Studios Productions.
Welcome back into Laur Studios Podcast, Episode 3 with the Silver Beats, part of the 10th Anniversary Special. We're on to Album 3, Dreams and Journeys. We're going to get into it with Ryan giving us the first question.
What was the original idea that started this album?
Well, just like every other album, we needed another one. This one we wanted a little bit different, though. We wanted a little bit of a bigger project. You'll notice behind us we've got 14 songs displayed, unlike the other two albums so far, which were only 12. We wanted to go a little bit bigger, a little bit further. We knew our ability was a little bit more than these first two albums. Now, unfortunately, this episode, you'll find out, is going to be a little bit more gloomy than the first two. Yeah. The second album was the ending point for a couple albums for us. And the reason we say that is we ended on a really great high. Every band has a low. Unfortunately, our next three episodes are very interesting to talk about, but they are talking about that low.
So without further ado, let's go to the next question.
What is the inspiration behind the title of your album?
So, in reality, coming off the second album, we had it titled after one of the top songs. This one, it wasn't exactly a concept that we had, other than that it just kind of fit with the picture. So we took the picture first in his backyard, and it just, for some reason, I don't even recall exactly why, but it just came across us to title it as Dreams and Journeys.
So we're going to start going into this next topic with Ryan with the question.
Which song came together the fastest and which gave you the most trouble?
If you don't mind, I would say the easiest song was probably All Alone.
Yeah.
Especially in this third album, we're getting a lot of layered songs, significantly more than the second album, to the point to where there are very few songs on this album that have 2 or 3 tracks. And All Alone is one of those. I mean, I wrote the lyrics and recorded them, I think, the same day. And it was, done very quickly. Now, with the toughest song, I'm going to leave that to you because you wrote more of this album.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting question because this album that we'll get into this concept more in a little bit wasn't recorded the same way the first two were, in the sense of us being in the same location. Unfortunately, we didn't ever have a chance to really meet up more than twice.
Exactly.
This is when, of course, this album is when Ryan got on board with our band. And so we had the ability to do more work without having to do promotional work ourselves, which was great. That gave us more chance to record.
Right.
Problem is, dates weren't lining up. So we didn't really have a chance to be in the studio a lot. So everything that he worked on was just him. Everything I worked on was just me. And then we crossed paths a little bit on some of the songs. So I think it's kind of best we kind of attack it at 2 different directions. With that being said, I think the most difficult one has to be By Now, which is the last song. The song itself was easy to record. Yeah. Lyrically, it was difficult, not even writing it. But if you go and look,
I wrote it in one day.
If you listen to how it's sung, it's extremely difficult when you have 0 singing experience behind you, which at the time, we really had no experience.
Exactly.
In fact, if you could pull the song up, at the time we didn't really know how to sing high notes without yelling high notes. So we were yelling high notes the whole time for an extended amount of time. It became really difficult to be able to sing it, and we're going to play it for you here to listen to it.
Which you can obviously tell that it's just very strenuous, It's high octaves, and I had originally wrote it and done a rough demo, and I went back to try and sing it again, and I couldn't sing it that high. I was, I think, sick at the time. So then Caden took over, and luckily he was able to sing it.
Now, we did post this album in January. So, with it being the colder weather here in Michigan, we were sick fairly often during the recording of this album. We had an original release date, and unfortunately, we had to push it back just hours before it was supposed to be released. And that's because we got very behind on content, and this song was a big reason for that. The constant repetition of "I have to say bye now" and that higher
Exactly.
octave is horrible to do after singing almost 14 songs in one day. It was horrible. So
Yeah,
that
it's
was
almost
the big thing.
it's almost
Is
impossible.
I think just for that reason, I really think that one is the reason it gave us the most trouble. It pushed. I think with that being said, we're going to turn it over to Ryan once again.
Did you have fun creating any of these songs?
Now, this album, unfortunately, like he said earlier, is kind of the dip in our actual recording. So it was very difficult for me and him, and Ryan for that part, to meet up for it. So there was not really too much that I actually enjoyed about recording,
Right.
because it was, me in my room recording just by myself.
Right. And when I was in the studio, I was just in the studio by myself. So I think that's a lot of it is the overall album production was not enjoyable. I would say maybe the post-production was, but I can't even say that because there really wasn't a post-production review,
Yeah.
which is partially where the poor quality comes into play because we were so rushed. We did not process the songs long enough. We did not review them in depth. So, unfortunately, overall, I don't really think
It was
any of
not
them
very enjoyable.
were enjoyable to record. Now, some of them that we did, like when we recorded, was it Dave? Not Dave Rig. We did "Lady You Shot Me" together, didn't
Yeah.
we? Or was it "Sunshine and Haze"? I think we
Lady
did
You
"Lady
Shot
You
Me."
Shot Me." That was pretty good because it was kind of back to where we were those first two albums of you and I being together,
Right.
recording together. But again, that only happened for just a handful of songs. So really, the overall feel of the album was not enjoyable at all.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there are
it's
some songs
unfortunate.
that are nice,
it's
but
it's unfortunate.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, overall, unfortunately for us, All Alone was pretty good to record.
Yeah.
But other than that, there wasn't too much. So hopefully we'll get some positive here with this next question.
What song on the album changed the most from the demo to the final product?
The second album, we had a lot that, it was a demo, and we'd wait a couple weeks and then record it. This album, the album in a whole should not have been released when it was, because it wasn't ready. And I don't think we really had many demo songs that,
No.
They changed much. I do know Hi, Nice to Meet You. I had done a demo, but I changed it significantly from the demo to
Right.
the final product. But
Yeah, I mean, we got to a point where we were recording so efficiently that we didn't really have to take time for demos again. Like that first album, we didn't have any demos. And it was because we just worked on a project and got it done. Whereas this, when we had projects started, we didn't change much. We had a vision in mind. So,
yeah.
I mean, other than that, other than the one you had mentioned, I don't think there were too many demos for this album. So, I think we'll be moving on here to themes and lyrics.
Which song are you the most proud of lyrically and why?
For me, that's definitely All Alone. It's very somber kind of song,
Right.
very slow, but I'd say that was probably my favorite that I wrote.
It was definitely nice seeing Sunshine and Haze come together. Completely different style from what we're normally. It was more of a heavier rock.
Yeah.
It was kind of nice seeing that one to come together lyrically. One that I wrote was Golden Dreams, and I didn't think it was going to make the cut. I really, going into that, writing the lyrics, I didn't think we were going to put it on the album.
Yeah.
It was just a little thing that I had in my mind, and it turned out pretty good, so I'm pretty happy to see that it made it on, and it made it a full song, because, the thing is with lyric writing, it's pretty difficult to kind of predict where you're gonna go.
You don't know where your end is.
Right. So
it's gonna either happen or
during
it's
the
not.
process, it's kind of, I mean, it's always rewarding to see your songs come about, whether they're great or not. But I think those few are probably some of our best picks for the album.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're gonna keep talking about these lyrics here.
From what you said before, was this album too rushed entirely?
For sure.
100%.
For the first and second album, we set deadlines for ourselves, but we weren't releasing them
Right.
at
No
that
public
point. Whereas the third album, we had set a release date a couple months in advance, and we were getting ready to release it. And like he said, that night we were going to release it, and we couldn't because we hadn't done enough actual editing after. And even with that, it still wasn't ready. I mean, the songs are complete, but there are some unfinished ideas. There's definitely a lot of takes that we kept in that could have been better. Like
Right.
we were rushing to the point to where you recorded it, listen, oh, you heard something messed up. Well, it's not that messed up, so we'll just keep it in.
Right. And the reason we set a public deadline, this was the first album, like I had mentioned, where we were releasing it on YouTube first.
Yeah.
There was no, once the channel was up and going, we were getting ready to release it.
Exactly.
So at this point, we now have a Facebook and Instagram account, and we had that public deadline out for everyone to see. And a lot of people had seen it, and they were ready
Yeah.
for it. They were waiting. Unfortunately, like we said, we had to push that back.
Yeah. It was not going to happen.
Right. It was extremely rushed. Like I had mentioned, we didn't even start the editing process for the videos or the songs themselves until maybe 2 or 3 hours after that original release time. So we were really far behind.
Yeah.
We completely underestimated. It was definitely a learning experience for us. Being the first album we were going to release publicly like this, we learned a lot. We've gotten a lot better. We don't wait until the last minute to record things, so we've definitely gotten better with that.
We learned.
We'll hopefully get some light in here with Ryan's next question.
Did this album or did a specific song pose any kind of risks, and why?
Golden Dreams.
Yeah, Golden Dreams,
that's
it's
the big
very experimental. It really fits in no other category other than maybe a little bit of Brit rock. It's extremely experimental. I wrote it to be experimental because I wanted to do something different. It was perceived very well, which was unexpected to me. I did not expect it to be one of the top
I didn't
tracks.
expect it to. I was figuring it was going to be bottom 3 on
Right,
the album.
and it's one of the best performing.
Yeah.
Very surprising. Very psychedelic before we really started working with it. We had no experience there. So it was a complete shot in the dark. I'm glad we took it.
Yeah.
It did well for us. We both got a lot of compliments on it.
Yeah.
Very different sound. But yeah, I mean, huge risk. It's probably the biggest one. The rest of them are pretty similar to what we had done before.
I mean, I'd say
But,
Every Little Time was a pretty good risk because that is, I think, the only track up to this point in time where it was just one person singing and a guitar.
Right.
Because that was...
Very minimalist.
Yeah, it was just me. And the issue, I think, was that was one of the last songs that we did, and we were, running out of time, running out of patience, with a deadline imminently coming. So I recorded it quick. I didn't think it was going to do very well at all, and that's actually the highest performing song on the album.
Right.
And it was a big risk at the time of, is it actually going to do well?
Right.
Because it's so, minimalistic.
Right. I guess the other one I would say was a big risk was number 7 on the album, which was Whispers of War.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily the style, but it is the theme. It's fairly political for its stance on what it's singing about, which is a big deal because we make it a point here to not be political. We don't take any political side or bias. So when writing a political music, I guess
You
it's
have
difficult.
to tread lightly.
Yeah, it's difficult. There are a couple lyrics on this album that kind of dive into that anyway, especially in the first album, The World. Was a little riskier with that sense,
Yeah.
politically. But this one, I definitely took it up a notch, especially with, again, being released when it was, with what was going on at the time. It was a big risk. I mean, I knew that it was probably going to get some backlash, which I had several family members who didn't necessarily like the theme, but it's part of the risk you take with making a song like that. We're going to move on here with some of the positives, so we're going to send it to Ryan on this one.
Is there an underrated track that you'd like the fans to take a little more time on?
Daybreak was a nice little song that we'd wrote, and that was actually one of the ones that we were together when we recorded it, and it's like a little glimmer of light in the darkness of how poor quality this album was. It's not the best quality wise, but it definitely, you can see how it calls back to the roots of our first album.
Go back and listen to either Whispers of War or Sunshine and Haze again. Just give it a listen through. Whispers of War, maybe listen to the lyrics this time, because I know a lot of times when I listen through to it, it just kind of goes over my head. Listen to what it says, and just give it a chance. It's just something different. Keep moving forward here with some of these standout tracks.
With this album, what shows that you've grown not just in the songs, but as of how you've grown with your studio?
This album was one of the first ones that we actually had microphones for. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear in it that we knew how to use them.
Yes,
If you, obviously, if you listen back, you can hear several times people walking around, pool balls clacking because Ryan decided to mess with them while we were recording.
Just little things.
Just small little things.
Which we still didn't have. In fact, the denoise feature came out available to us shortly after this album.
Yeah,
So
after it was released.
We wish we would have maybe held off. I want to say it was about a month after.
Yeah, I think it was
if it
about
had been,
February or March.
If it had been pushed off just a little bit more, it definitely showed, because at the time we hadn't recorded with more than 2 people in the studio. So having that third person, we learned how to work around starting to have a crew, which was very helpful. It also kind of taught us how to treat the studio, which I'm going to see if I can pull it up here, if we can talk about the studio a little bit. In Studio 4, so you can see here, Studio 4, you'll notice it's very difficult to have such a big project with such little room. Everything was starting to be pieced together.
Very tight.
Everything's packed. So everything's very rudimentary here. We hadn't even barely been in this, and this carried us for quite a while, even up through our docu-series. So we stuck with this layout for quite a long time. It did well. It worked how we needed it to, but we definitely found flaws, and that was the big thing. As we started using our communication side, and it helped a little bit, but we definitely learned quickly that our studio needed to be a little bit more important. So we then, of course, later moved, but it was a big learning project for us. It shaped us, not only how we work as musicians, but it completely changed how our physical space around us is set up.
I'd say
it helped us a lot, really.
If I may, that something that we had never considered, which we really do now, is how the physical space actually changes how it feels in the studio. So, I normally played the drums, and the drums are tucked all the way in this back corner. So I can barely actually, at that time, see around the drum set and the walls. So, when I was in there, you're very isolated. And if I have the headphones on, I'm just in my little space, which is nice, but you feel cramped, Right. Same thing for over here where it was very difficult to get into the actual pianos.
Right.
So, you're in there, you're kind of stuck. If you wanted to run around, it takes 3 minutes to get out from where you need to.
Right.
And I think it really, it worked well when it did, but at the same time, I think it kind of choked our creativity a little bit.
Right. So we're going to go back to Ryan.
Did this album lead you to any new advancements for future projects?
Touching on the studio again, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. It changed the way we do everything.
Yeah.
The next album, unfortunately, was done in a similar fashion where we were separate for most of it, but it changed the way we now had procedures in play.
Yeah.
We do things in a procedural way, whereas before, that never existed. We didn't know what to do. We were still figuring it out.
Yeah, we were doing things, out of order, doing them incorrectly.
Right.
Whereas here, we're trying to actually hammer out, a process of what we do and when we do it.
Right. So we're going to keep going here with just another final thought with 2 more questions from Ryan.
Are there any interesting quirks that can be found in the album?
There's a lot of background noise that
Yes.
you can find.
Yes.
Unfortunately, if you go to Elastic Stage and buy the album, the physical copy, you won't actually hear much of that because we were able to
Completely
denoise it.
overhauled, yeah, overhauled the album.
But you are actually able to get slightly better versions of Sunshine and Haze that have not as long of a break and things are cleaned up. But for quirks, it's just a lot of noise that you hear.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess another interesting thing about it is this is the first time we had promotional work being done while the album
Right.
was being recorded, which you can see on our website. There's a lot of that everywhere.
Yeah. A lot of pictures.
And like you said, a lot of background noise. It's if you go ahead and go and listen to it, make sure you go to our YouTube versions, obviously the full and original cuts. Don't listen to the music specifically. Listen to the background and what's going on.
Because there's a lot.
You will find a lot of little hidden things. In fact, in Whispers of War, which is an interesting quirk to me, on the digital version on YouTube, accidentally, we were talking in the background.
Yeah.
But it worked because it's a song titled Whispers of War. So it was a complete accident. We left it in, obviously. It works now that we go back and reflect on it. It worked.
Looking back.
Happy little accident, so to speak.
Exactly.
But it's just a lot of little things. I mean, listening through to it, you would think it was purposefully left in there.
Right.
It wasn't, but it works. So there's just a lot of little interesting little niche things in there. You'll hear a lot of background noise. So it's definitely an interesting album to kind of dive into beyond the music itself. We'll wrap it up here with one final question from Ryan.
So, how did you feel about this album's portrayal?
If I'm being quite honest, poor.
Yeah,
Um,
very much so.
there's a lot of songs on this album that I like. All Alone, T for Two is a great one that he
Yeah.
wrote. Lady You Shot Me, Every Little Time. But as a whole, it was rushed. It didn't need to be released when it was, but we did anyway. You can almost see that we're getting burnt out.
Very much so.
We're pushing ourselves much further past our limits than we should. I generally had a not enjoyable time.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, really, there was not much that was enjoyable about the entire process. It was nice being able to learn from it now, but at the time it was pretty.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. It was unfortunate. We had about a day of listening to it. We were pretty happy about it, and then we really started to pick up on some of those little things, and it just brought our mood down as a whole. And
Yeah.
We'll definitely get to that in the next episode, because this album, it like you had
It took
mentioned,
us down a lot.
like you had mentioned us being burnt out. That continues to be carried into the next one, because we didn't realize it until after.
Yeah.
So this next album, it
'Cause you gotta
it
think-
affected more than itself.
Yeah,
did.
you got to think that when we were doing it, we had momentum.
Right.
Because, the first album was pretty good. The second album was much better. So then the third album comes along, and, it knocks us down
Right.
a lot.
Right.
So we're thinking, oh, it was a fluke, maybe something else will improve the next album.
And that'll do it for the third episode of the Laur Studios podcast featuring the Silver Beats' 10th anniversary. We're going to get into the fourth album on the next episode, and we hope to see you there. Have a good rest of your evening, folks.
Nice to meet you. Daybreak, but baby, you shine me. Yet there's whispers of war on our shore. All alone in paradise. War is hell, gotta realize the stars view. Deep into fatigue, all alone. Have to say bye now. I have to say why now. Here I am.
Laur Studios Productions.